we know that in order for a betrothal to work, the object handed over has to be worth more than a pruta, which is, let's say it's a cent. It's a minimal quantity, but it's nevertheless a quantity. It's got to be worth something. And we also know that the value has to be transparent. We've talked a lot about the fact that transparency is required through this whole process. So if one party or the other doesn't really understand what is going on, then, well, the betrothal doesn't work. So the Mishnah at the end of the second chapter is going to get into a whole set of objects that perhaps don't have any value. You could call them, if you like, zero value objects, because the person receiving them, the woman receiving them, can't do anything with them, or maybe even they don't belong to the person giving them. And the first set of these objects actually belongs to a priest. It doesn't say a priest, but well, let's look at the Mishnah. We'll see it's obvious it's a priest, it's a Kohen. Someone who betroths with his portion of the holy things. These are basically, this is meat which has been sacrificed on the altar. So the priest is going to eat the meat. Someone betroths with his portion from the holy things. Now, interesting question about this portion. First of all, does it belong to him at all? And maybe it doesn't. Maybe he has a mitzvah to eat it. Maybe it doesn't belong to him at all. Maybe it belongs to the Beit Mikdash or to God. Maybe, okay, he can eat it, but the person he betroths certainly can't eat it. So either it doesn't belong to him at all, or if he hands it over, it has no value to her. But so we can see the Mishnah is going to rule Eina Mekudeshet. She's not betrothed. And the same B'Kodashim Kalim with sort of lesser status holy things. They might not belong to him, might or might not, probably not. They probably belong to the Beit Mikdash or to God. She certainly can't do anything with them. Eina Mekudeshet. She's not betrothed. What about Maaser Sheni? B'Maaser Sheni. Now, Maaser Sheni has to be taken up to Jerusalem and eaten. Rabbi Meir, by the way, has a view that the status of the Maaser Sheni is just like holy things. It doesn't belong to us, it belongs to God. So even though we take it to Jerusalem, we eat it, I suppose we could say, look, we're in the place of the Kohen at that point. Because anybody can take their Maaser Sheni, their second tithe, to Jerusalem and eat it. It's a mitzvah to do that. But Rabbi Meir is going to say, okay, you take it, but it doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Beit Mikdash, or it belongs to God. It doesn't belong to you. So Rabbi Meir is going to say, well, let's read the whole Mishnah. But Maaser Sheni bein shogeg bein mezid. With second tithe, whether by mistake or whether on purpose, in other words, whether deliberately or not, lo kidesh, he hasn't betrothed. Divrei Rabbi Meir, according to Rabbi Meir. Because according to Rabbi Meir, he hasn't actually handed over something that is his, even though she could actually use it, but it's not his. And Rabbi Yehuda will kind of disagree. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mezid Kidesh. Rabbi Yehuda says, Mezid Kidesh. If it's on purpose, the Kiddushin work, because I think he would probably take the view that, okay, the person eating it gets some benefit. So she, in theory, could take the food to Jerusalem and eat it. So providing he tells her, this is Maaser Sheni, in other words, Mezid, if on purpose he tells her what he's done, that's okay. Kidesh, he's betrothed her. Shogeg, if he does it by mistake, lo Kidesh. If he does it by accident, he hasn't contracted the betrothal. Why? Because he's given her something of rather unusual status, and he hasn't told her what he's given her, because it's by definition, it's by mistake. He hasn't told her what he's given her. So Rabbi Yehuda will say, lo kidesh, he hasn't contracted a betrothal. What about hekdesh? What about property which is already dedicated to the temple? Let's keep going. Let's follow Rabbi Meir to start off with. Uva hakdesh mezid kidesh. If he gives if he uses sanctified property on purpose, kidesh, the betrothal works. Shogeg, by mistake. Lo kidesh, it doesn't work. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir seems to be taking a slightly different line here from the strict line he took on second tithe. I think Rabbi Meir is saying, look, we know that we can redeem property that's been dedicated to the temple. So for Rabbi Meir, if he knowingly hands over this property to a woman as betrothal money, well, effectively he's redeeming it. He has to obviously give something else to the temple. He's not free of his obligation, but he can hand over the object to the woman, and then he can go and give the Beit Mikdash something of equivalent value. So he's redeemed it. Obviously, if he does it accidentally, shogeg lo kidesh. If he's done it accidentally, he's taking temple property. He can't do that. And Rabbi Yehuda will take the opposite view. Rabbi Yehuda omer shogeg kidesh. Rabbi Yehuda will say, if he hands it over accidentally, okay, he's guilty of me'ilah. He's guilty of misusing temple property, but he just has to repay the temple. The Kiddushin work. Umezid lo kidesh, because, why not? I think probably because he can't substitute. But let's think more on that. So we have a set of rules here. Let's go on, look at other items which really, really have no value. Items which someone is forbidden from deriving any benefit from, either the owner, by the way, or someone to whom they're given. Hamakadesh orla, someone who betroths with orla. Orla is fruit that comes from the first 3 years of the life of the tree. We can't use it. We can't benefit from it. We can't sell it. V'kilei hakerem, with kilaim of the vineyard. This is wheat which grows in the vineyard. Again, we can't sow diverse types of species. It has no value. Uvasor haniskal, an ox condemned to be uvashor haniskal. This is an ox condemned to be stoned. If an ox kills a person, we stone it. We're not allowed, and the text says velo yachel basaroi. Its meat can't be eaten. We don't use the ox which has been stoned if it's been stoned because it's killed somebody. It has no value. So it has no value. This is a heifer whose neck is to be broken. We learned about it in the last chapter of Sota. If someone is found lying dead in the desert, we break the neck of the heifer in a dry valley, and we don't do anything with that heifer. Uvatzipore Matsura, a leper's bird offerings. Uvisar Nazir. This is the hair of a Nazir which he offers up on the altar. Uvafete Chamor, the firstborn of a donkey, which has to be sacrificed or redeemed. Uvsar Bechalav, with meat cooked in milk. We can't benefit from meat cooked in milk. Uvachulin Shenishchatu Ba'azara, with non-sacred meat slaughtered in the temple court. With all of these things, we can't get benefit from these things. Ina Makudeshe, she's not engaged. Mecharan Vekidesh. Now, what if he sells them and betroths with the proceeds? Mecharan Vekidesh. Mecharan Vekidesh beat Mehen. He sells them and he betroths with the money he gets from them. Now, he's not allowed to sell these things. It's forbidden. We're not allowed to get benefit from them. But if he does sell them, well, the money is not tainted in the same way as the objects are. So he's committed a sin, a grave sin, by selling them, but he still has the money. And so the Mishnah rules, Hare zo mukudesha. She gets the money, she doesn't get the restricted object. And similarly, Hamakadesh be trumot, uvumasrot, uvumatanot, uvumei chatzat. If he betroths with teruma, or with tithes, or with priestly gifts. These are all things that priests accumulate, or Levitim accumulate if they're tithes. And now, a woman who's not a Bat Kohen doesn't have the right to eat these things, or a Bat Levi, a daughter of a Levi, but she can. They trade in the marketplace. I mean, truma trades at a lower price than regular food because fewer people can buy it, fewer people can consume it. So she can trade these things. So they could be worth more than a prusa. And so we'd expect the Mishnah to rule that we can we can you can betroth with these things. Uvumei chatat, with the water of purification, of efer chatat, the water and the ashes. This is the water and the ashes that are sprinkled after someone comes in contact with a dead body. It's not at all clear what benefit you get from here. And one of the commentators suggests that we're talking about money which people get from drawing the water or burning the ashes. In other words, water associated with manufacturing these. But anyway, the Mishnah rules Harezol Mukadeshet Afal Pi Yisrael. She is engaged even if he's an Israelite. In other words, even if both he and she don't have the right to use these things, they still trade and they still have value. And the value's clear. And if they trade and they have value and the value's clear, then they can be worth more than a prusa. And if they're worth more than a prusa, then they can be used for Kiddushin, for betrothal.